Hey, welcome to Sequentially Yours, Initially Mine. And this is a show where we look at this week's number ones and tell you which ones you should keep on your person at all times and which ones you should ditch as quickly as possible. Alright, so before we get going, I want to thank my friends Crystal and Christian for this brand new Max shirt that they got me for Christmas. It just got here, it was a little late, but guys, this is fantastic. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It is by far one of the coolest new shirts I have gotten lately, and I really think it's great. Thank you. All right, so let's jump right into things right now. So our first comic for the week is Amazing Forest from IDW. Honestly, I gotta say, this is not a bad comic per se. It's an anthology in the sort of Twilight Zone mold of things. And it has some good moments to it. Where it kind of falls apart is that those good moments are always leading to an ironic twist. And while, yes, that works for things like the Twilight Zone, Outer Limits, that sort of stuff, occasionally it's a little bit... I can see it coming, and that makes it a little bit less effective. That being said, though, when it works really well. I mean, I was surprised by how some of these stories really did get me thinking and working and really kind of working through what had happened. If you are into that sort of thing, and, Twilight Zone-y type anthology comics, where you're going to get good, 4 or 5 pages of story and then you move on to another one, this might be for you. Alright. Next, from Dynamite Comics, De-Evolution. I wanted to like this, because I think that comics need more strong atheist characters, and that's what we started with. But then the plot kicked in, and I should have seen this coming because it's Rick Remender writing. And Rick Remender, while he occasionally hits something really, really hard, is mostly kind of mediocre, at least as far as I'm concerned. His stuff is not really that fantastic for me, and it always has the seeds of good ideas that he can't really capitalize on. And that's what happens here. Basically, what this is about is people decide that religion is a bad idea, so they try to de-evolve the part of the brain that believes in God, which is, while yes, there is certainly neuroscience to support the idea that our beliefs come from a certain part of the brain. The brain is a big thing and complicated, and I can't imagine a single scientist looking at this idea and being like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. No, that sounds like a terrible plan, and it was a terrible plan. It ends up de-evolving live creatures so that they're basically cavemen running around. There's a part that is basically just an excuse for an explicit sex scene. The violence is way over the top, not in a fun way. I'm okay with over the top violence, but I need to enjoy it. It needs to be fun. It needs to be more than just grisly and good. To borrow a phrase that I've gotten from Alex Shaw at the School of Movies podcast, Gruey. That being said, it has nice artwork. It has, again, the seeds of a good plot in here. The problem is that everything is just so over the top. Without it being over the top fun, it's trying to draw from that sort of, I guess, 80s action ideal of over-the-top violence, but without any idea of what exactly made those movies good. In many ways, it harkens back to the Dark Age of comics, and I gotta say, I was not impressed. Okay. On a similar note, Pencilhead. Ted McKeever's Pencilhead. From Image Comics. This is actually on the Shadowline imprint, so those of you who watched my Image episode know what that means. Um, it's about a couple of freelance comic writers, and sort of the stuff that goes on with them. I think it thinks that it's funnier than it is. I think that it thinks that it is more clever than it is. To be perfectly honest, it just comes off as cynical. And yes, I understand that the comic industry can be very not even cutthroat, but very blind, for lack of a better term, can be very blind to things like quality and artistic merit and this, that, and the next thing. But you know what? This doesn't even bother trying to be subtle about it. It just sort of throws it all out there and hopes that you'll sit there and nod along and say, yeah, they have it tough. Uh-huh. Everybody's got it tough, Ted. I'm sorry, but everybody's got it tough. And again, just some of the jokes, they just don't work. And when I say some of the jokes, I mean all of the jokes. They don't work. Sorry, Ted. Not going to recommend this one. Next. Okay, The Legend of Wonder Woman. I liked it. I generally like Wonder Woman. I'm a big Wonder Woman fan. Apparently this particular one was designed because a lot of people don't like where the current Wonder Woman book is going, so rather than short circuit that, they're creating something new to appeal to a different sub audience, which I think is a great idea, actually. I love where the new book is going, but I have read and reread classic Wonder Woman, like Golden Age Wonder Woman, time and time again, going back to the first few issues, and I love that stuff, and that's where I'm seeing the regular book going. This is a little bit different. This is an origin story in the sense of it's the origin of her birth. It basically retells that story. It tells about Hippolyta and becoming an immortal, and this first issue covers Diana as a young girl who sees that Themyscira is being threatened by something. She's not sure what, but she can sense it. And she wants to learn how to fight, but Hippolyta doesn't want her to know that because Themyscira has been at peace for so long, so a princess doesn't need to know those sorts of things. It's actually really interesting. The character of little girl Wonder Woman is really kind of nice, in the sense that you can see the seeds of Wonder Woman in her, but she's still a child. And it works out, and it's really well written. Who is the writer on this? Let me just double check this. Renee DeLise is the story and pencils, so well done, Renee. Inks, colors, and letters by Ray Dillon. And yeah, the inks on this are, just look at this first page. Take a look at that. I just love the inking on here, the colors, how bright they are, and how... Look at that. That is gorgeous. I absolutely adore all of this. It's not my favorite for the month, or for the week, but it's still really good, and if you like Wonder Woman, then definitely give it a shot. Alright. Another from DC, Poison Ivy, Cycle of Life and Death. By the way, you'll notice that I'm not doing any of the Marvel stuff right now, all of the new number ones coming out. I'm putting out a special video for those. I want to go through them all, and trust me, you'll see them. But yeah, I really would like to go through all of them as we go. Suffice it to say, though, yeah, Poison Ivy, Cycle of Life and Death. This is sort of an interesting idea conceptually. It starts out with Pam Isley. She is, in fact, Poison Ivy at this point, but she has gotten a job at the Gotham Botanical Gardens thanks to a friend of hers who is also her mentor. And she's trying to turn her life around. Harley is not helping with this, of course, but that's sort of an aside. It's not really a part of it. Either way, what I find fascinating about this is that they're really pushing the Poison Ivy's connected to the green thing. as she is starting to accept the plant side of her more and lose her conception of the human side. She's starting to forget how humans react to things. And it's actually kind of fascinating the way that they're going about it. I love what's happening here. Again, really happy with the art. Let's see if I can find the thing for... Really happy with the art. Really happy. Alright. Written by Amy Chu. Pencils by Clayman. Inks by Sethman. And colors by Ulysses Ariola. Ulysses? I'm sorry, as per usual. I apologize for my name pronunciation. Either way, it's clever, it's well written, the dialogue is snappy, the art is fantastic, the cliffhanger is well written. I, again, recommend it. But finally, there can be only one, and this week, the best number one that's come out from Dynamite Comics, Will Eisner's The Spirits. Okay, so you know me, I'm a throwback guy in many respects, so I was already sort of primed to like The Spirits, but what I do like about this more than anything is that the art style on it mimics Eisner's without it being a complete copy. It's very much an homage to Eisner's art style, which I love. Down to the sound effects, everything else, the fonts, it's very much a throwback to it, but it still takes that story and runs with it. One of my main complaints with it is that the cover covers about, I don't know, the first page of the book. And then that's over, and then we move on to something entirely else. That being said, the actual mystery of the book is well put together. I like them trying to figure out who these people are. The spirits basically... The plot of it essentially is that there's a new player in the Central City Underground, and the spirit's trying to figure out who he is. His name is Mikado Voss. Nobody has seen him. Nobody knows who he is. But they're all scared of him, especially the gangsters. So he's trying to figure out who this guy actually is and what he's trying to do here. Meanwhile, you have low-level mooks who, afraid that Voss is going to find out that they said something, jump out windows. Because apparently that kind of death is better than what he'll do to them. You find out about a couple of interesting conspiracies. It has its cartoony moments, again, visually, but they work and they fit into the Spirit's world very, very well. They do a good job of building this character as well. They reintroduce a lot of old characters. They find ways to bring them back into the story. They find ways to humanize the Spirit and humanize his relationships. There's a wide variety, and I keep coming back to the art on this because, again, it's Will Eisner, it's the Spirit. It's not actually Will Eisner, but I mean, it's the Spirit, it's a Will Eisner creation, and it's hard to discuss that without discussing the art. But they do a good job, the coloring on it, which, just let me double check this, colored by Brennan Wagner, is so diverse and so well put together that each scene has its own life, and I love that. Written by Matt Wagner, illustrated by Dan Schade? Schade? That. Yeah. It's, again, and that being said, again, the writing is sharp. It all fits in with the spirit of the Spirit without having to be a complete copy. If you get a chance this week to get to your comic book store, pick up the Spirit. You won't be disappointed if you like the sort of mass superhero, golden age type thing. You're going to love this. Alright. So, I hope that all of you are having a great week. I have a lot of other work to get done, but if you would like to help me kind of scale back on that and do more around here, my Patreon is right here. Thank you. And beyond that, I don't know what you're going to think of any of these books, but these opinions were initially mine. Take care.